Early this week, Lomax officially signed with the Western Force. And for people who are pretty clueless, and I'm surprised you clicked on this video, well, they're not a rugby league team, they're a rugby union team. And if you've seen this yet, you probably knew that already. But yeah, I think a lot of people did see this coming. And as you can tell by the thumbnail, today we'll be talking a bit about Lomax and what this means for the NRL and just overall what it means to the NRL and rugby league in general when rugby union takes some of our best players, because we are starting to see that recently. And I want to go over some reasons in my opinion why I think, and also maybe some negatives of going over to rugby union and just all stuff. Talking about Lomax, giving some examples of players who did go over to union, maybe successful, maybe not. Talking about R360, is it a scam? Seems like it might be. Will this ever stop? You know, will rugby union ever be lower than rugby league in a way? And main question I'm trying to give my opinion on today is yeah, what this really does mean for rugby league. So it's a bit of a mix of video, but I think let's just get straight into it. We're going to start off with talking about Lomax. You can tell I'm a Parramatta fan. I really do like Lomax. You know, I lived in Singapore, if you guys don't know. I lived in Singapore for like around 8 years before I came to Australia at the start of 2025. And I had watched Parramatta previously on TV. It's much harder. Now I'm a season ticket holder, you know, a member there from last year and now this year. So I went to a lot of the games last year, which was good. Met Lomax at the first membership game I went to was the Dragons one, where he scored that winning goal in Golden Point. An iconic day. He's really nice. He really appreciates the fans and that from when I met him. And overall, he does make some mistakes, but you know, he's a good player on the field. So when it was figured out that he was going to R360, which is supposedly going to be a really big rugby union competition backed by a lot of money, I was like, okay, you know what, good for him. It might be the better option for him, but it's disappointing, you know, because he's definitely one of our better players. And going to the 2026 season, which I know has already started, but back then I was like, oh, this could really affect us. And you know what, after seeing that first game against the Storm, this is recorded right before the Broncos won. Here's the score for that. Hopefully we won. Probably got absolutely smashed, to be honest, but doesn't look so good so far. But okay, look, basically went to court with Parramatta and that. It was over the Melbourne Storm. So that's where it got worse, because he was like, oh no, I've made a bad choice to go to R360, because you know what, it doesn't work. It's not gonna, it might get delayed for years and years to come, and it looks like probably a big scam. So we're trying to agree stuff with the Melbourne Storm so he can go play. Obviously he didn't want to go play for Parramatta again, which was a bit annoying, you know, it's a bit of an insult to the club in a way, but you know what, he wanted to play from the best teams, and fair enough to him. The problem is you know what, a player is not bigger than a club. A player is not more important than any other club in rugby league, in the NRL, in any sport, to be honest. So yeah, you can't just break through the law, and that was the problem. Parramatta won the case. He couldn't play for any other team unless Parramatta agreed with it. So maybe you trade with someone, something, you know, maybe we could trade with another team about some other players and stuff, and I knew they were trying to get stuff like that done. It never ended up happening. And then long story short, as I mentioned at the start, earlier this week signed with the Western Force, who are a rugby union side. Some positives, some negatives about it coming from my opinion. Obviously, I'm not Lomax, to be honest, as you can obviously tell. I think some negatives are you're definitely making much less money. I know you want to say, oh, the sport's not always about the money, but in a way it is, kind of is. You know, you got to make a living, and you don't really get as much as you were intending when you go to the Western Force. And unfortunately, rugby union's in that spot where, even though a lot of people like to go there, from rugby league, which we'll mention later, you don't make really as much money, especially if you're just playing for the Western Force and you don't end up playing for the Wallabies, which is another negative for Lomax. You know what, he wants to play for the Wallabies, he said that, but you know, the Wallabies have really good, I guess, strengths in that position where Lomax is kind of wanting to play, and there's not really a need to have him in compared to some of the guys we've already got in that Wallaby side, especially for the up-and-coming World Cup in 2027, which is another big reason. for him. And I'll head over to the positives. That's one. You know what? If he makes the Wallabies team, he's going to play in a World Cup that everyone will be watching. That is a global sport. Unfortunately, Rugby League, you know, we are trying to be a global sport. It is mostly in Australia and in England, and I know they're trying in other places with global and stuff like that. But Union, especially when the World Cup comes around, it is global. It's much more global than a Rugby League World Cup. It's much more better organised as well. And that's a major positive if he does make the side. But it's a big risk to gamble with for someone like him, because he could just end up not making it and then he's stuck at the Western Force for 2 years. Let's be honest, it's not the end of the world. Another negative is having to move there. I thought, you know, he might stay in a place here in Sydney, maybe go for the Waratahs. I know they are bringing in Crichton, which I'll mention later. But yeah, the Force, not necessarily exactly probably what he wanted, and he'll be a little bit disappointed, but you know what? It's his and his agent's choices, and that's what happened. And yeah, so hopefully I've explained it well and I've given some of my opinions on it. We're going to leave the final stuff I'm going to talk about Lomax today is when I talk, I'm going to read out some of his quotes from an interview he recently had when signing with the Western Force. So I'll read it out. Actually, I'll read it. It's from an article from Fox Sports. So they say he has links to both the Bears and the Storm, as if Lomax comes back after the 2 years, which is most likely unless Rugby 360 does go ahead. But you know what? There's starting to get a lower chance, as he does say. He wants to be more part of Rugby Union, and that's kind of his future now. So that's getting a bit more unlikely, they're telling us. But he said, "For me, this is my future," which is literally what I just mentioned there. He said, but mate, I'll never rule out what's to be later down on track. Lomax said this on Tuesday after being asked if he was open to making an NRL return in the future. So it's mixed, most likely not, but maybe the Bears. I could see the Bears signing him up for maybe a year or maybe a couple years if R360 is going to happen, but it's delayed. I could see that. I think he might still go there, unless, you know, he pulls out. Okay, then he says, "I want to be the best rugby union player that I can." Obviously, that's a goal for anyone. Where he said, "I'm super grateful for everything that Rugby League has given me." 100%. And this is where I want to mention something. So many critics have been, and pundits and all that have been saying stuff about how Zach Lomax, is embarrassing and just in a way just not respecting Rugby League, and I think that's completely untrue. I think the way he dealt with the Storm Parramatta stuff was it just wasn't good. It wasn't a good reflection of Rugby League. He didn't treat the clubs and just Rugby League as a sport in general very well. But I think after this move, and from what we've heard, he's been treating it quite well. He knows. He's open to say, yeah, Rugby League teach me all this stuff. You know, it provided for me. It was there, you know, and it meant so much to him, and it does say that. Instead, where we are hearing a lot of people saying he's embarrassing the sport, which is, it's not true. You know, you got to read through these interviews, read through what he actually says, and it's not saying, "Oh, I hate Rugby League. Rugby Union is so much better." He respects Rugby League, and he's grateful, which is, you know what, you want to be that. Once again, continuing on, Rugby League has given me the chance to be where we are today. I'm super thankful for that. To my previous club, including Parramatta and St George are the main ones, maybe talk about the New South Wales squad as well. I'm super grateful, but for me, it's all about the future and being able to make a decision. You know what, the decision took quite long after. Decision made, then cancelled, decision made, cancelled, and then finally getting somewhere, which I'm happy, you know, at least he's agreed on something. Final thing, obviously there's been a whole heap of speculation, but I'm truly confident in my decision, and one that I just can't wait to recommend. I think personally, it matters, for me, I think it matters if he makes the Wallaby side. I think that's the most important thing here, if he'll make that or not. If he doesn't, then it could be quite the disappointment. But now I've talked a lot about Lomax, let's talk about some other examples. So, This is another article I'm taking this from. I'm taking from a lot of articles today, because it's more of a chiller video, if you can understand. So several high-profile NRL players are switching to rugby union, headlined by Zach Lomax signing a 2-year deal with the Western Force for 2026. Some other major moves. So previously we had Joseph Sulagi. I probably completely butchered that, but he was one of the first ones, and he was a success. And unfortunately for rugby league, he was one of the big people who led the way for it. Especially in my opinion, in more recent times, because he went over and he didn't just like stay for club. He played for the Wallabies. He plays for the Wallabies still. He's definitely one of their good players as well. So he's been a huge success. Mark Nawanga-Witawase. He is incredible. He can do both. He is a really good player. And unfortunately, he was at rugby union first. You know, that's where he started off. He came to league. This is now his second season. His full season. His first full season, he got the most tries scored, which is incredible. You know, he deserves that. He's a really good player. But now this is going to be his final year, and then he's heading back to Union for the World Cup. And he, unlike Lomax, is very confident in making that decision and heading back, because he will be in that squad. While I don't think Lomax will be able to compete over people like Mark Nawanga-Witawase to make that squad. Because I think Marky Mark will make that Wallaby squad for the Rugby World Cup. I think that just adds another point where I think Lomax is really low chance of making it. Final one, Angus Crichton. We learned about this earlier this year, and he's going to the Waratahs, by the way. But yeah, he, again, the reasons is they want to play for the Wallabies and want to play in the World Cup. But the difference with Crichton and Lomax is Lomax's Western Force deal was one of their last options. He wanted to go and play Rugby 360, then he wanted to stay in the NRL and do Storm, and then it got cancelled again, and they said no, you can't do that, and now it's just normal rugby union. You know, while these other guys it's kind of their first choice, and there's people from rugby union who are telling them to come over. They want him over. While I'm not saying Lomax is not wanted over in rugby union, he's more just made that kind of choice as like a third choice, while Crichton's been asked by people, they want him to play for the Wallabies, and which makes him think, yeah, I want to play another Rugby World Cup because I have a very good chance of making it. So, see, all these other ones I said are most likely going to be a big success, and that's why I say Lomax is just, it's very different, isn't it? Okay, R360. I made a full video on it when it was announced, and you know what, it actually did pretty decent. I think like 700 views. You know what, I'll take it. It never got the 1,000, but that's okay. Look, Rugby 360. What to say about it? I think it's a bit of a scam. Do I think it'll still go on? No idea. I think it's Rugby Union. I can't remember. They may have. Please correct me in the comments if they've done anything to ban players to go so they can't play international for Rugby Union if they play R360. It seems like a mess. It seems like a bit of a scam, and it doesn't seem very organised. So hopefully players who agreed on it, are able to continue just playing at their best and playing in rugby league, or if you're coming from rugby union, still playing at your club at rugby union. I think R360 is a bit of a scam and it might fail, but you never know, it could be the future of rugby union, we don't necessarily know. Will this ever stop? No, I don't think it will. Rugby league is incredibly popular. I know rugby union is very popular, it's worldwide, but rugby league is getting very close, or maybe even bigger than rugby union in Australia, especially for players. You know, money in that. Rugby league, if you're at the level of rugby league, you'll make a lot of more money compared to, you don't make as much as you'd play in union, unless you play for the Wallabies, which is once again money, but not as much as you make in other countries. But once again, goes back to the reason all these guys want to play and play in World Cup, and they can be a worldwide superstar in a way. But yeah, I don't think this will ever stop overall. It might start to slow down in Australia, especially if rugby league continues to grow with this global round and all those great initiatives. But yeah, I don't see it stopping anytime soon. But hopefully for rugby league fans, we get to keep our best players and that. But no hate to, if you're a fan of Rugby Union, you're a fan of Rugby League, respect to you. I'm a big fan of Rugby League. I'm getting into Rugby Union a lot over the last year and a bit, maybe a bit around a year. And I've been enjoying it, you know. This is now the winter season for my school sport, by the way, and I'm actually playing rugby this year, Rugby Union. So you know what, I'm starting to like the sport as well. But fun thing really answers what we're talking about in the thumbnail on that title. If I make a nice title, what does this mean for rugby? It means that we might always see, and this connects to will this ever stop it, we might always see players decide to do union because it's worldwide. I think if you're a better player and you're wanted by union, there's a very good chance that you will go over there, which is just it's a negative for rugby league. It's a positive for union if they can get better players, because you've got that aspect of worldwide. So until rugby league can kind of like offer that, it will continue to affect rugby league pretty hardly, I would say, especially if you get bigger players leaving. If they're able to keep it and then get possibly even more global in some other countries that maybe rugby union is not super popular in, I think rugby league could be in a good spot. But currently, rugby league, I'm not saying rugby league in a bad spot, but compared to union taking their players, it's not the best at the moment. But I'm sure, I total believe that the initiatives that the guys working in the NRL will do and combined with the Super League will really help rugby league. I'm gonna leave it at that. It's been a long video. It's been a bit of a rant in a way. It's been a really fun one. I was supposed to be quite short. I don't know how long this is gonna end up finishing. But this was fun, you know. I hope you guys enjoyed. I found this quite fun, you know, something else to do before Parramatta plays. And yeah, you guys have a wonderful weekend, or whenever you're watching this, have a wonderful day, night, whatever. Come on, Parramatta, gonna win Premiership 2026, lads. See you guys in the next one. I should be studying for math. Goodbye.